Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 8 p.m. Monday, June 13th, 2022, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the partnership between Happening Out Television Network and Hotspots Magazine. Hotspots is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ+ experience. We bring you the best of LGBTQ+ news, entertainment, and support of our community.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson. Let's welcome anchor John Hayden. John's been a journalist for 27 years and now works for several South Florida outlets, including SFGN, as community editor, covering politics, arts, and philanthropic organizations. Much of his career was spent as a celebrity journalist covering the stupidity and scandals of Hollywood. John's interviewed nearly every big name in TV, movies, and music, and once spent an evening watching a movie with Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. God save the Queen. Welcome, John.
Thank you so much.
There wasn't any shade in that at
Not
all.
a damn bit. All right, let's welcome anchor John Patrice, making his debut and making it even more special because there are now two Johns, no waiting. John Patrice has an education background in public relations and years of community outreach work. John Patrice believes it's always important to bring your full self to the table. He said, quote, "Know that it's okay to give yourself time and grace with this thing called life," end quote. He is the owner of Truth Is, which stands for Together, Reclaiming Unity Through Healing. It's an LGBT mentoring organization that focuses on the importance of self-love, unity, and love for the community involvement. He is also a part of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the oldest intercollegiate historically African-American fraternity, which aims to include manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind. Welcome, John.
Thank you so much for having me today. Let's welcome anchor Dale Stine. With a background in music and arts, he is a well-known photographer, famous for his photographs of internationally acclaimed DJs, drag personas, and other entertainers, including our very own Fayway. He is presently the director of music ministry at Unity on the Bay, as well as the moderator of South Florida's largest LGBTQ+ Facebook group, Miami-Dade, which can be found on Instagram as @GayListOfficial. An activist with multiple LGBTQ organizations, Dale is also currently vice chair of Miami Beach Human Rights Committee. Good evening, Dale.
Thank you very much, and welcome to you, John.
Thank you so much.
Let's welcome anchor Steve Rothaus. He is a pioneering journalist that had covered LGBTQ+ issues at the Miami Herald for more than 2 decades, beginning in 1985, and came out at work 2 years later. He served as a national board member of NLGJA, the Association of LGBT Journalists, and founded the association's Newsroom Outreach Project, visiting newspapers, television stations, and colleges to discuss LGBTQ+ news coverage and workplace issues. He's a GLAAD Media Award recipient for Outstanding Newspaper Columnist and known as an LGBT pioneer in mainstream journalism, according to Columbia Journalism Review. Good evening, Steve.
Dale, thank you very much. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Monday, June 13th.
We begin by querying up South Florida and Florida. History is made as Miami-Dade County City names building for LGBTQ+ leader Scott Galvin. When Johnson & Wales University in North Miami shut its doors, most of the property was obtained by PMG and resold to new owners such as Doral College. One building that wasn't sold was the former Wildcat Center. This was the university's athletic and community center, and for nearly a year, North Miami Councilman and Queer News Tonight host Scott Galvin had been encouraging the council to purchase the building for the city to use for the community, meetings, and more. The city of North Miami took his advice, and in a surprising move to honor his contributions to the community, they are renaming the Wildcat Center to the Scott Galvin Center. We congratulate our friend Scott Galvin on receiving this honor, and we can't wait to see what programs he helps bring to this new facility. Big news, isn't it?
Definitely.
That's fantastic for Scott.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, Scott's fantastic for our community, so it's so great to see the community giving back. And this isn't some like rinky-dink back campus building.
Not a
This
shed
is yeah,
back here.
yeah. This is a really nice
Not
building to have his name
I wouldn't
on.
be opposed to that either, though.
John has a shed in his backyard in Manners, and he names it the Al Ferguson shed.
But you know, Scott is just one of those people who really not only represents the LGBTQ plus community, but in North Miami where he just loves his populace. He loves the people that he represents.
Oldest
Right.
city commissioner in Florida, I believe.
Well, he was elected in 1999.
Yeah.
And he came out in 2004. So, I mean, he was one of the very first elected officials in all of Florida to come out. And I think that that's, a very appropriate, thing for them to
Being
be
the first.
to be the first and to be among the very first, LGBTQ people to be honored with having a structure like this named for him in Dade County.
I feel like it's very important because representation matters, and for him to be a pioneer in the community, it's very important to see that they value him. So it's very important.
I can't state this as a fact, but piggybacking on Steve's observation of the history of Scott Galvin being the first to come out in Florida, the history there. I am not aware of an LGBT naming of a building in Miami-Dade or Broward County.
No.
So I think that this is also historic from the standpoint of it's the first official public building named after somebody in the LGBTQ community. So that history is also quite outstanding.
Very big.
Congratulations to Scott Galvin.
definitely congratulations.
And a recognition of all of the value that he has in our South Florida community and for the LGBTQ community.
Absolutely. Big up, Scott. Now we move on and queer up business. A new study reveals gay bars are on the decline in America. As the LGBTQ plus community gains acceptance in much of the country and apps become a new way of meeting people, bars are becoming less and less relevant for many people. A new study by sociology professor Gregor Mattson of Oberlin College tracks just how many gay bars we've lost. The study showed that the number of gay bars in the U.S. declined by 15% between 2019 and the spring of 2021. And while that was during the peak of COVID lockdowns, the numbers are similar to the rates of closures in previous years. Historic business data shows that between 2007 and 2019, more than 36% of all gay bars in the U.S. closed. While Mattson feels that broadening acceptance of the LGBTQ plus is a good thing and are part of these numbers, he cautions, quote, in most of parts of the country, gay bars are the only public LGBTQ place. In other words, they're the only place where queer people can reliably encounter other queer people in public, end quote.
Well, one thing that I'm curious is how does this compare to all bars in terms of closures? Have all bars been reduced in the last 7-8 years? But, the idea that gay bars are not as in demand, obviously the apps have made it different for people to meet. You talk to people and, I don't hear anybody saying they're going out to the bar. No, they're going online and they're meeting people. And I just think that it's also a matter of supply and demand. I think that if there was a demand for bars, we would probably have more.
I'm curious in challenging the observation, though, Steve. What is your guess, your gut guess of the straight counterparts of bars? Do you think there's been a 36% decline in bars?
Probably not.
Yeah. See, my gut tells me this is a gay phenomenon.
Well, but what do these other bars, what are the purpose of those bars? Are for people to just go out and have fun, or are they to go out and meet people?
Well, I think people are going to bars to just have fun. And, you know, in South Beach, we have actually now, we don't have like a ton, but we have more bars now than we did just a few years ago.
So does
Yes, so in certain areas that are, well, certainly Wilton is a gay enclave. South Beach is not a gay enclave like it used to be, but we do have more gay bars, and they are packed.
But they're packed with people there to have fun, not necessarily to pick
They're not
up.
there to pick up. I mean, that's a.
See, there.
Wait, is there a difference between picking up and having fun?
I think you can have fun picking people up, but I think that people today who go to the bars, they're going there.
It's a perk if you pick somebody up.
And I also feel as though being able to go to the bars, because we were in the pandemic and going through all of those situations, it's like people want to go out. They want to be able to see people. They want to engage. They want to have fun. So it's like to not have these clubs around, it's kind of like detrimental to us. It's like, where are we to go?
And you've got Jen's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just wondering what areas, if it's because it's a survey of what areas. I mean, how
Of the whole nation.
I know, but I know it's the whole nation. I mean, I know that, but I mean, they're not clearly differentiating between certain areas like Wilton Manor, for example, and other, gay. What's it? Gay town? What's it called in Chicago? I forget.
Boys Town.
Boys Town. Thank you. They're not comparing it to other smaller, maybe other more rural areas where there might be gay bars.
But also, Gen Z and millennials are coming of age where, especially in larger cities, they've just sort of had gay people around them. You know what I mean? And so they move into these up and coming neighborhoods with, that have led the way. And so now it's sort of just kind of like everyone's together. So leave it to the gays to put the homo in homogenous.
Just waiting to say that.
He was waiting. The author of the study at Oberlin College, I think, hits on one of the things, that one of the principal reasons is Gen Zers have no care walking into any bar what happens when four young Gen Z gay boys walk into a bar? They just walk into the bar. That's it. End of joke. It's not like much of our experience that the gay bar was a protection for us. They don't need that anymore. It is not the way that you found the guy to hook up with in a casual sexual encounter. The giant rock killer of gay bars in America is called Grindr.
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
Scruff.
Absolutely.
And that's how people are hooking up, and you don't go into a bar predominantly to hook up. And those that are still doing it are much older.
Absolutely.
And as a result, it's just like retirement communities. Things change because people are getting older, and that's what's going on. However, this study is big news. Big news, because this is a yellow flashing light to maybe a red flashing light. That America is changing, the American gay community is changing, and those that are in the business of delivering to the American gay community should be paying attention to this, because the traditional ways that we market, that we communicate, that we socialize, they are changing. And if we broadly, whatever that business is, whatever the media is, whatever the newspaper is, whatever is the whatever, it better be paying attention to this, because change is afoot.
Right. And Al, many of the stories that we're talking about tonight will reflect that. Many of them.
And before we move on, we had an experience like that on Saturday when we were at brunch at the drag show. It wasn't particularly well populated, but there was this group of clearly straight people who had no idea there was going to be for them, I thought they thought it was a flash drag mob. But by the end of the show, they were coming up and posing with all the girls. I mean, like, they got into it, and it made me feel really good. But I think that's a symbol of where we're heading to.
Right. And John, you remember 30 years ago in Florida, people who showed up during Gay Day at Disney, they were shocked, and they wouldn't go in. They didn't know what to expect. And today, people are much more comfortable.
Yeah. All right, John, you're going to push us on, and we're going to look at some culture issues.
Okay. Queer up gay culture. Groundbreaking survey shows historic number of young Hispanic identify as LGBTQ+. Queer News Tonight has previously reported on a Gallup poll that shows 7.1% of Americans identify as LGBTQ+, up from 3.5% in 2012. A new analysis released by Gallup this month shows that one of the largest factors pushing that growth is the young Hispanic adults. In 2020, 8% of the Hispanic adults identified as LGBTQ+. In 2021, that jumped to 11%. In comparison, white and black communities reported that only 6% of adults identified as LGBTQ+. Gallup attributes these findings to the overall younger age of the U.S. Hispanic population. 1 in 5 individuals from Gen Z or those born after 1997 identify as LGBTQ+. Amongst millennials and those born between 1981 and 1996, that number drops to 1 in 10.
Fascinating.
I was very surprised at this story. I mean, well, one thing that made me surprised by it is that so often there's one thinks of that community being more conservative in the family way, in the family sense. Mm-hmm. But clearly, with the Gen Z, there's a shift that's happening, in spite of religious and other.
I think Gallup gets it right. Gallup is basically suggesting, comparing to white population and black population in America, Latino population in America, average age is 5.5 years younger than white or black America. And because of that, they have a much higher percentage of Gen Z and millennials. And because they have higher percentage of Gen Z and millennials, they are the death knell of why we're watching DeSantis and Republicans and evangelical Christians hold on for dear life. Because what is coming is young, progressive, liberal, queer, et cetera, et cetera,
and the browning and coloring of America.
Of the browning
and coloring of America. I think I wonder if another element. So many people have immigrated into this country from Central and South America. Exactly. So the ages of those children would be just right now for Gen Z, and now we're seeing that shift after all these years. I think that's part of it as well.
This study is bad news for Donald Trump,
and we love that.
And
we love that. And it's just showing that showing that everybody's bringing their full selves to the table. They're not hiding themselves. They're comfortable in their skin with everything in the media and things like that. They're bringing their full selves, and it's important. And I love to see it.
But it also makes me wonder, in Dade County, in Miami-Dade County, where so many Donald Trump supporters come from that very community, what is really happening there? And are older Hispanics in Miami-Dade County so different, and apparently they are, from their children and grandchildren?
Absolutely.
And so eventually these people will supersede.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to dive into the pool and probably crack my head. But I think one of the things that we watched in the 20 election and what happened is Miami-Dade County, for Latino communities all over America, Miami-Dade County has something unique, and it's called Cuban American. And the conservativeness of the Cuban Americans that came out of Cuba that are so fervent anti-Castro and anti-Cuba has had effects on the population of Miami-Dade County, which skews so much dramatically more conservative than communities like Houston or Dallas or Los Angeles or San Diego. Right. And Miami-Dade County is an outlier for Latino community. And one of the reasons I think explains the observation that you make, that it trumps literally even this story on Gen Zers, I think.
Fascinating story. Next, let's clear up the road to Stonewall. Dozens of white nationalists arrested near Idaho Pride event. After receiving...
And I think we're going to show some video.
Oh, we're going to show that first. Sorry. Watch this.
They're getting arrested.
The dramatic scene unfolding in a small town in Idaho. Dozens of suspected white nationalists zip-tied and arrested after Coeur d'Alene police found the group crammed inside this U-Haul truck just blocks away from a gay pride event.
No one should fear going to a pride celebration because of a white supremacist.
The men clad in riot gear and masks, one of them wearing a shirt with the words "Reclaim America."
These guys stopped a U-Haul full of dudes.
Authorities say they got a 911 call Saturday from someone who spotted the men at a hotel and described them as a little army.
They were all wearing similar attire. They had shields, shin guards, and other riot gear.
Police say they also recovered at least one smoke grenade and paperwork similar to a military operations plan that included heading toward a park nearby where the Pride Festival was underway.
I don't think this would have been as successful had we not had one extremely astute citizen who saw something that was very concerning to them and reported it to us.
All 31 men are now charged with misdemeanor conspiracy to riot. Investigators say they came from 12 states and appear to belong to a network called the Patriot Front, described by the Anti-Defamation League as a white supremacist group, formed after 2017's Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia.
If you look at their language, if you look at their symbols, if you look at their ideology, it is white nationalist to the core and deeply dangerous.
During Pride Month, filled with so many celebrations nationwide, many in the LGBTQ community now on edge.
It just hurts my heart to know that these people want violence for us, and we don't want violence for anybody.
No word yet on when the group will make their first court appearances. They have not commented publicly. The local police chief tells us there have already been online threats towards police officers involved in the arrests. Hoda?
All right, Gabe Gutierrez. Gabe.
After receiving a 911 call about a group dressed like a little army getting into a moving truck, the police of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, were quick to investigate. What they found was a group of 31 men believed to be linked to a white nationalist group called Patriot Front, who had plans to riot at the town's Pride. The men were geared up in riot gear and also had at least one smoke grenade. Police Chief Lee White said, quote, "It is clear to us based on the gear that the individuals had with them, teleprompter, the stuff they had in their possession in the U-Haul with them, along with paperwork that was seized from them, that they came to riot downtown," end of quote.
I look at it like June 12th, 2006. We just recently witnessed that anniversary. 16. Please forgive me. We just recently witnessed that. And to see in America, we're still battling with the struggles of gun violence and legislation and domestic terrorism still to this day, and it kind of bothers me.
This comes on the heels of the West Palm Beach threat, which turned out to be somebody who was up in Canada making violent threats. But these are happening. And one of the things that was in their literature, and I want to get this right, they described Pride as a radical left-wing event. Phrases like that are taking hold. This isn't just somebody coming up with it. There is a network of white supremacist group that are putting out talking points like political parties do or like companies do. These are the things that are taking hold. And if, people who are just sort of on the fence or don't care start hearing this over and over again, they're going to think it's right. So they may not be successful today, but a day of their success is not far away.
Absolutely. And being in the midst of Pride here in South Florida, I think that everyone should not be worried about something like this happening, but I think that people should be alert and they should be looking around just to make sure, the whole, if you see something, say something, and just to know that these things are happening.
But to say it's a shame is really an understatement, because when you're at a Pride, you want to be exuberant, free, having the time of your life, and not be looking around in fear all the time.
In fear, absolutely.
I have two thoughts. Three thoughts. First, I'm on the stage with Faye Watt on Saturday broadcasting the parade. And when I saw this story, it was the first thing I thought of is thank God for the person that goes, and calls 911 and says, this is very strange because they look like an army. That person may have saved somebody's life, maybe. And I agree with Steve. The second thing that I think of is if there was ever a call to action for the LGBTQ community to support and at least at the minimum understand what the Black experience in America is, this event is that. Because how could you not think about Selma or something that went on in the civil rights movement of this is exactly what they faced for no other reason than hate? Because this gathering of people coming from 12 states to little Coeur d'Alene, Idaho to gather is nothing more than hate. And that is a civil rights experience that all of us in the LGBTQ community should embrace. The final thing is we are watching the hearings going on in Washington of the big lie. We know now it was not only a lie, it was a lie they all knew that they were telling. And people have lost their legal licenses to people maybe talking about invoking the 25th Amendment. The lie was so outrageous. We know that that is a fact. $300 million in fundraising was raised over the big lie. And it was told by Donald Trump over and over and over and over, and 48% of America believes it. Now, fast forward to this moment in Idaho. We have people in America like Governor Abbott in Texas and Governor DeSantis in Florida telling another big lie. Don't say gay, because they're grooming and going for your children. And they're saying it over and over and over again. And white supremacist groups are going, yeah, that's true. And let's gather together and get in our U-Haul and go to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Sure. And that's a lot of planning. This doesn't just happen.
And they are responsible. Donald Trump is responsible for what we're watching.
Wholeheartedly.
And if something dramatic happens this month or in the future to that point of a pride, it is because of people like Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott that has blown the dog whistle so loud that you've got to protect your children from queer people. And somebody's going to pick up the arms to protect their children from queer people because you blew the dog whistle. When it happens, we're going to call you out left and right. Donald Trump.
It isn't going to be pretty.
It isn't. And Ron DeSantis.
Okay, well, let's queer up politics. Speaking of, Defiant Ron DeSantis says they can't cancel me at New York City Jewish Leader Conference. Watch this.
If you look at what they're doing with the FBI, saying the FBI should get involved in school board meetings and look at these parents who are rightfully upset about what's happened in all these areas. And then, of course, we get more and more information every day to show you how the intelligence agencies and law enforcement were weaponized to create this Russia collusion conspiracy theory, which was false from the beginning and is obviously false now. That's not a normal government operating. That's a partisan bureaucracy that is wielding its power against people who dissent from the regime. You also look at what animates so many of these people. It's a woke ideology, which I think is much more dangerous than simply saying it's socialism. It is, but it's much more pervasive than that. It's a form of cultural Marxism. They want to take away the fabric of our entire society. That's why they're so interested in getting this into the schools. That's why they're so interested in taking down statues of Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington's name off schools. This is a radical project. And let's just be clear, the woke are anti-Semitic. They are anti-Israel. We know that.
When the Tikva Fund, a conservative Jewish organization, first announced that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis would be speaking at their Jewish Leadership Conference, the original hosts at the Jewish Museum backed out. Following that, Chelsea Piers agreed to host the event. At the event, DeSantis claimed that as a victory. The National Review quotes him as saying, quote, "They can't cancel me. I'm going to speak my mind. You know, I saw that there was little opposition to me coming here. All I can tell you is this. When the left is having a spasm, that just tells you that in Florida, we are winning." Dozens of protesters gathered outside of the event with signs that had slogans like, "Chelsea Piers harbors hate," "Say gay," and "Don't say DeSantis." Since the event, Chelsea Piers has said that it will donate the money that they were paid for hosting to LGBTQ plus causes. You know, hearing him say that he won't be canceled, you know, this is the same as what I heard during the marriage campaign by people who were so used to winning that when they lost something, suddenly they became the victims. And, you know, he is playing that playbook. You know, basically, you know, I've been canceled. He has not been canceled.
We can cancel him in November.
Well, that's another story altogether. But we do have an opportunity in Florida if people come out and vote.
But it's just, I mean, he just terrifies me because he's smart and he knows exactly what he's doing and he's very strategic and it's terrifying.
so terrifying. He is likely going to be successful in everything that he does. He's raised $100 million, to 3 reasonable Democratic candidates for governor that are very pro-LGBTQ community. They have definitely got their work cut out for them. And the reason is because he's raised $100 million. He's raised $10 to every dollar everyone else combined has done. Is principally not Florida, but national money. National money is pouring into Florida. It will be the most expensive governor spending race in the history of America because the national money is coming in to support their candidate for 2024. Trump is being destroyed. He is being destroyed. Yes, he's leading the polls of likelies in terms of the straw balloting that is going on. But we're watching what's going to destroy him. He is not going to be the candidate in 2024. The candidate is going to be Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis. And this is what we face. This guy is genius. He is everything Donald Trump was, but smart. And oh my goodness, do we have our hands full now?
And it just is with everyone at this table who have done the groundwork for LGBTQ in the community, it makes me wonder for myself, it's like, what are the years to come in Florida? With so much hatred that's going on, it's like, why? What's the reason? You know, it's
Well, I have to say that, Florida is experiencing now what the rest of the country will experience if Ron DeSantis becomes president. Because we already know that the courts are, exactly, and the House is about to turn, and perhaps the Senate, and they will have all 3 branches. And I think that people have to really understand that something has to be done now if you want to prevent it from happening in 24.
Yes. Well, next we report on our partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine and supporting that partnership. Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ+ religious live broadcast in the world, as more than 30,000 watch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Watch this.
I'm Kiara Johnson, the Executive Director of the National LGBTQ Task Force. And as one of the most important civil rights organizations, I know the value of the support that comes from all corners of our community. That's why Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Well, next we finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ+ Flash News.
LGBTQ+ Flash News. Postmates offers bottom-friendly menu for Pride Month. It's a debate as old as time. What's harder, being a top or a bottom? Well, no matter which side of the argument you support, it's a simple fact that bottoming requires much more preparation. Diet can save a lot of work, but not everyone likes bottom brunch of ice cubes before a big night. Now, Lucky Bottoms in San Francisco and New York City have help from the food delivery service Postmates. They've partnered with specialists to be able to highlight a menu item that will make bottoming more enjoyable experience for everyone. Watch this.
What are you eating this Pride? Well, if you're a top, it seems like you can eat whatever you want. But if you're a bottom, you're expected to starve? Not this Pride. Introducing the bottom-friendly menu from Postmates. we teamed up with Dr. Evan Goldstein from Bespoke Surgical to bring you a menu of bottom-friendly foods backed by science. Insoluble fiber won't help you feel cute, so avoid things like whole grains, wheat bran, cauliflower, potatoes, legumes. Hold up, are you just fully diving into those beans? The problem with these foods is they don't dissolve in water, which could cause a traffic jam in your digestive system, making a mess of your evening. Speaking of messy, it's a good idea to avoid dairy.
I cannot handle lactose right now. Look at her.
If you're going to eat something insoluble, give your body about 24 hours to process all of it. Soluble fibers and protein are the key to having some good, clean fun. These all digest easily and slowly while feeding your good gut bacteria, which makes sushi a great bottom-friendly option. There's no right or wrong way to bottom, but if you're planning on getting peachy this Pride, the bottom-friendly menu on Postmates has the kinds of foods that can keep you feeling good.
Are you organic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I will not be going out for dinner after the show tonight. I will say I find this simultaneously clever, entertaining, and insulting.
Well, I just think that this should be shared by every one of the sushi restaurants throughout South Florida.
I'm wondering if you get, a package deal, you get multiple meals, if it comes with like a bonus gift of a douche wand.
Oh.
I love that you said package meal.
Yeah. All those intended double entendre.
I know everybody's expecting a wild comment from me, but anticipation of my impending interview with President Obama, I will stay silent.
Well, I will say it was very educational, and I love it for the simple fact that we've always had moments of people, being the world-known Picasso. So in situations like that, I love it. It's educating the youth on knowing what to do for your body to make sure it's a clean
John,
process.
we're loving you here at Queer News Tonight.
But I know one comment per person. However, I think that somebody should say that, this has had a negative impact on social media from conservatives who are using this as a reason to, basically say, this is everything that's wrong in the LGBTQ community. And I think that it needs to be recognized that, yes, it's amusing to us. It's probably very informative, but it comes with a price.
I also look at it as healthy eating.
It is.
Point blank period. When 2022, we all need to eat healthy, regardless if we're topping or bottoming or verse or what have you. So I loved it.
All right, and John, we're going to do another flash news.
Okay. LGBTQ plus flash news. Radical religious leaders suggesting violence as Texas pastor calls for gay people to be shot. Queer News Tonight has reported numerous times on the hateful sermons of Pastor Jonathan Shelley of the STEDFAST Baptist Church in Hurst, Texas. Now in a sermon, he calls, and I quote, "Why we don't shut up." Pastor Dylan Oz of that same church has called for the execution of LGBTQ plus community. In his 67-minute rage about how people are trying to stop them from speaking the true word of God, he spoke about how we didn't care if people called the FBI or the IRS, and that because God will protect them as they speak out against the sodomites, as he quotes. He continues by saying, "What does God say is the answer? Is the solution for the homosexual in 2022. Here in the New Testament, in the book of Romans, they're worthy of death. Every single homosexual in our country should be charged with a crime. The abomination of homosexuality that they have, they should be convicted in a lawful trial. They should be sentenced to death. They should be lined up against a wall and shot in the back of the head." Wow.
Thoughts?
For you to be in a place of God and to be someone who is supposed to be spreading love and righteousness, to have so much hatred things and to have that behind the word, it's baffling, and it's just beyond.
Well, first, it's not a place of God, it's a strip mall. It's a strip mall church. Swear, I promise you. But
I'm sorry, did you say 7-Eleven?
Did you say stripping?
Yes. But also, he is calling for his followers to exact justice. He says they should be, charged in a crime, but and tried in a court of law. But that's just his legal cover, so that when someone else goes out there and does this, that he can't be charged with inciting violence because he just called for them to be arrested. No, he is calling for people to line people up and shoot them in the back of the head. I just hope that this is pulled from social media at some point.
Absolutely. It is so vile that it's just little that I want to say, except that going back to the previous story about being on guard and being prepared at Pride, this is the worst case scenario.
The worst.
Wow. And there is absolutely zero, there's less than zero about him and what he is preaching that is Christ-like.
Absolutely.
Period in the story. And I believe this is what happens when the extreme internalized homophobia is at play. Because he looked gay to me.
Yeah, he's battling with
full on
something
gay,
internally, has to
and
be.
he needs to get a Postmates bottom meal.
Oh dear. I hope you watch that, Jonathan. We've reported on Jonathan Shelley and Dylan Oz many times. They say outrageously silly and stupid and ignorant things, and we frequently laugh at you. This time you went beyond, and the reason this time you went beyond is the timing of when you said it in Pride Month and in these days that we have just been through, because I personally have been through a process where I heard this same language. The word of God is the justification of my sword. That's what was said at 2:02 a.m. on June 12th, 2016. And he killed 49 people and injured 50 others with the same exact justification. In LGBTQ plus flash news, Disney Pixar's Lightyear has been banned in Saudi Arabia and the U.A.E. over a gay kiss. Disney has made some political missteps when it came to Don't Say Gay, but now they're putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to LGBTQ plus representation in their movies. Queer News Tonight previously reported on Disney's refusal to remove a scene containing a lesbian couple from the new Doctor Strange movie. And now they are standing with their firm ground in the new animated film Lightyear. The movie, which tells the story of the Buzz Lightyear character, has been banned in the U.A.E. and other Middle Eastern countries over a same-sex kiss and other scenes. Media Regulatory Office Executive Director Rashid Khalfan Al-Niami told Reuters that the film was banned because of the inclusion of homosexual characters in several scenes. I am sure Disney and Pixar, after the dust-up over Don't Say Gay and the national and international headlines that took place, was completely okay of whatever U.A.E. and Saudi Arabia says. The movie is going to do gangbusters, and again, we appreciate your standing with your employees and the LGBTQ community. A gay kiss is still, after all, just a kiss.
And I look at it, we're in 2022. Wake up. They're behind the 8 ball. Everyone should have the comfortability to be in their true skin. And it's unfortunate that individuals have to go through that in those particular areas. But we're behind the 8 ball. It's 2022. We need to,
Did you just say honey?
We need to kick it up.
I say to infinity and beyond, but not to Saudi Arabia or the U.A.E.
Right, exactly.
I just think it's unfortunate that in this time in Florida, certainly, and in the United States, that this is exactly the kind of issue that someone like Ron DeSantis will say, you see, this is what we're talking about. This is why we banned gay in the schools, and that Disney should be punished.
And, it's really not surprising at all that it's banned because, homosexuality is punishable by death.
Absolutely.
In Saudi Arabia and other countries, so it's really not a surprise. In other LGBTQ plus flash news, gay radio host holds back tears installing baseball bases with supportive dad. When the Toronto Blue Jays celebrated their Pride Night this past weekend, They had special bases with rainbow trim on the sides installed on the field. On hand to do the installation were Out radio show host Dammit Maury Sherman and his father, Frank Sherman. Maury said, quote, "I'm so lucky to have a dad like Frank. Having the chance to witness one of my dad's dreams of being on the home field at Rogers Center, where the Blue Jays play, was made just that much more special when the incredible team at the Blue Jays invited my dad and me to be one of the first ever people outside of the official MLB grounds crew to have the honors of installing the Pride bases ahead of Pride Night, which was just an absolute emotional moment," end quote. Watch this.
We're excited to be joined by Dammit Maury of the Roz and Mocha Show and his proud dad, Frank J. Sherman. They have the very special honor of installing the Pride bases tonight. What a special moment.
This is the Major League Baseball Pride base. We have it here. An actual
look at that.
Major League Baseball. All right, here we go. This is pretty special that you and I are installing the Pride base.
I know.
Walking over
I don't
the
think
line.
it's ever an experience that anyone could really be able to do here.
Okay, you grab one end.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to say to you, happy Pride. This is such an
This is
amazing
really
moment.
special.
Dad,
I'm glad we're able to do this together. This is really something special.
Okay, here we go. Okay. It's not going in. It's not going in. Is it going in? It's not going in. God damn it. Okay, here we go.
There it is.
Hold on, touch the base. This is like an absolutely incredible moment. I just want to say that you are one of the greatest dads ever to do something like this with me.
Well,
you're the best.
Thank you very much. But this might be one of those disco moments where I go down, I might not be able to get back up. So
happy
I'm
Pride
glad-
from my dad and myself to everyone. Happy Pride. I can't believe my dad wanted to do this with me. So
happy Pride.
I'm not crying, you're crying. That is just so wonderful. And when he came out to his father, originally, the father really had a tough time with it. He was not accepting at all. So what is wonderful is to see the journey that is possible to full-on acceptance and full-on encouragement of it. It's wonderful to see that journey.
You know, I just binge watched season 1 of Queer as Folk, and they come back to this subject twice. And in Queer as Folk in 2002, whatever year the first season was, they come back to the message twice. There's nothing more, almost nothing more, that a gay boy wants than the acceptance of his father. That video is beautiful.
Absolutely, and it just goes to show for the masses to see that it's okay to love your child and to support them and to be able to share that moment, not only for MLB, but just for all sports around the world, to show that unity and love will be able to go beyond.
I love it. I mean, this story, seeing that video, it just really
As
touches
somebody who has a very close father,
I do.
loving his gay son.
I do have a great dad. My dad would absolutely be down on that field with me installing him. I mean, the story is so sweet that I'm not even going to make the joke about getting to first base with his dad.
Or that it won't go in.
I think that what Dale, said was so interesting to me. Also, the fact that it was a process for the father, and that according to Maury, he said it was a lack of knowledge, and that just it shows us all that to give people some time, and to help them understand and that it's a learning process for many people, but that they're capable of learning, and you have to give them that opportunity.
Absolutely.
That's it.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
You know it is, so help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share the news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in the many groups you're a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is, quote, out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
Well, if our community is to grow, we have to tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. And that is the passion of the Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including John Patrice. And John, first time here at Queer News Tonight, you did a great job.
Thank you so much.
And John Hayden, and Dale Stine, and Steve Rothaus. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure